hello, and welcome to Salima Speaks. I have a heavy heart today. Yesterday, I lost a very good friend of mine, BK Hart, succumbed to cancer. He is an amazing man. He produced my show for 3 years, and he was a good videographer, fantastic guitar player. He did so many things, and he helped out with the church. And my heart is really heavy. And you know, he had a bout with cancer. He had chemotherapy, and he thought he beat it. You know, the thing is, we have to be our own doctors, because this whole cancer thing, you know, chemotherapy kills the good cells. So when the cancer comes back, you have nothing to fight it with. You know, so we have to use common sense in everything that we do. I was reading a report in my doctor's office that 65% of all cancer diagnoses are wrong. I want to dedicate this, my 60th show, to the memory of BK Hart. Okay, thank you. And I have a very interesting guest here today. His name is Minister Ishmael Al Islam. And he's going to be talking to you about a lot of interesting things. And I want to introduce him and say hello, and how are you?
How are you, Salima?
I'm great. As a matter of fact, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
And are you originally from Philadelphia?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay,
yes,
what part of Philadelia?
North Philadelphia.
North Philadelphia.
Yes,
Tell me a little bit about how it was growing up in North Philadelphia.
When we were growing up, we had a sense of value. You know,
Okay.
I grew up in a time when the light came on, you better be in the house.
Exactly, yeah.
That was my time.
Okay.
That's how we told time. You know what I mean? We grew up and we had love, family, nurturing. We didn't have much, but we had love.
And we
care.
sat down to family dinners.
Family
People
dinner.
don't do that anymore.
You missed that, you didn't eat.
Exactly.
You did not
But
eat.
you better have your butt at that table.
Yes,
and you
ma'am.
did, you know?
Exactly, we did. We grew up in a time when we watched technology come to fruition.
Right.
I remember the ice box.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I remember bringing the ice. Grandma, go get some ice from the ice man to put it in the ice box.
Okay.
So I grew up in that time and era.
Right.
So it was a lot of love, a lot of care, a lot of nurturing.
A lot of respect.
A lot of respect.
From the children, from the
Right.
parents, from
Yes, ma'am.
people talk to each other.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
wasn't always on the cell phone. You got to know each other. You got to know
Yes,
your
ma'am.
neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody knew the neighbors. Now you don't even talk to your next door neighbor.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think they really know the idea of cooking anymore.
Oh my goodness. I know.
Everything's fast food.
Honestly, yeah.
Pick something up on the way.
Right.
Let me get a burger. Let me get this. Let me get this.
Or
on the way.
Chinese food.
Some Chinese
You know,
food.
come on.
Yeah, we sat down at full course meals.
Exactly.
My grandmother would cook breakfast and she would begin dinner immediately
Right.
at that time. So we were well fed, well nurtured.
Exactly.
And
we didn't have all this food with all the hormones in it.
Right.
You know, growing chicken with 3 legs and stuff.
You're
You know, because
absolutely
people don't realize that stuff is going into us. We're eating it, so it's
Yeah.
going to be a part of us.
You're
You know, so
absolutely
were you raised with both parents?
I was actually raised for a time with my grandmother, and
Okay.
then for a time with both parents.
Really?
And then for a time without both parents.
Okay.
So I had the whole full gambit.
Yeah, because you know, so many people now, so many black men especially, are not raised with their fathers.
Right.
So how was the experience being raised with your father?
Well, it was an experience in a sense that he worked a lot.
Okay.
But we understood when Daddy was home, everything was quiet.
Okay. that respect. There goes that
we
respect.
knew that.
Yeah.
We knew that the television was going to stay on a certain station.
Exactly.
And you better be quiet.
Right.
That's what we understood. We knew discipline.
Okay.
We understood respect and
Exactly.
discipline. And that was something that grew up to understand as a man, that I
Right.
wanted to pass on to my own children. Discipline, respect, and just civilization.
And when did you see the neighborhood changing now? Because I know now, you know, North Philly always kind of got a bad rep, but it's not as bad as everybody thought that it or thinks that it is.
Yeah.
But when did you see, or did you see the neighborhood changing to be a
60s.
bad neighborhood? Really? Okay.
Mid-60s.
Okay.
Mid-60s, 66, 67,
It started changing.
Seeing the change. Along with technology, you started seeing change in family.
Okay.
Families now began to eat in separate rooms.
Right.
We had the.
I know, because we weren't allowed to eat in our
No,
bedroom.
ma'am.
Are you
No,
serious?
ma'am.
You
No,
do
ma'am.
not take
We
your
were
plate.
not allowed
Do
that.
not take your plate upstairs. Okay, you're going to
And,
sit at this table.
with the oncoming of the what you call it in the oven, the fast food thing.
Microwave.
Your microwave
Yeah.
and the dinner, the TV dinner.
TV dinner, yeah.
The TV dinner. There was less and less.
But see, you
family.
know what? Our fathers didn't play that TV
Right,
dinner,
right.
okay? You
We
cannot
wanted a
bring a
full
TV
cooked
dinner, okay?
meal.
A TV dinner, you see, it's
Right.
not in my house.
So
you
with
know?
that, you saw the family spread apart and change.
Right.
The neighborhood began to change. Our fathers worked harder. Our mothers began to have to work to catch up with the technology. Where mothers were homemakers.
And sometimes I think, I know around that time, I guess, I don't know what happened to the family, because sometimes the father would leave
Yeah, well,
the family.
a lot of that occurred as well.
Right.
I mean, it was something that occurred in our families, but we still survived. We still
Right.
made it. We still
And
had
we
a
still
sense-
had that respect and sense of
Yes, ma'am.
families,
Yes,
family
ma'am.
values. And I also want to talk to you, because now you're with the, what we always thought was called the Nation of Islam.
Yes, ma'am.
But you just told me that it's called the Lost Found Nation of Islam?
The correct name, it is the Nation of Islam, but the Nation of Islam, as how we say, is a slang term.
Okay.
And what I mean by a slang term, when Master Farad Muhammad came from the East in the 30s, he gave the name to the Nation of Islam as the Lost Found Nation of Islam here in the wilderness in the
Okay.
West,
Okay.
in America. That is
Okay.
the actual title, Lost Found Nation of Islam here in the wilderness of North America in the West.
That's the whole title.
Yes.
Okay.
So-
and why was it called the Lost Found Nation?
Well, I
of
believe
Islam?
social media back then, when the white media began to publicize the Nation of Islam, they began to just cut the name off so that it was easier to deal with, the Nation of Islam.
Okay.
But the Lost Found Nation of Islam is a connection to the spiritual aspects of the name,
Okay.
because we are a lost people who were found in the year 1930 by Master Farad Muhammad. Thus, that's why that is the entire title, Lost Found Nation of Islam.
Okay. And because I'm Sunni Muslim, so I don't know too much about that.
Well, they Sunni Muslim in the aspect was they sprung out of the Lost Foundation of Islam.
Okay.
You
But
know.
if you're saying the 30s, Islam didn't just pop up in
Right,
the 30s.
right.
It's always been around. The
Right.
nation popped up in the 30s. So
Yes.
if Islam was already here, the Nation of Islam had to come from true Islam.
Well, no, I think what we're saying is that Islam has always been here in some form or fashion.
Right.
But the Lost Foundation of Islam came from Master Farad Muhammad. That was a different thing altogether. It was
Okay.
not out of Orthodox Islam. It actually came from.
So
him.
this is a religion that he started.
Well, this is a message that he brought to us
Okay.
called Islam.
Okay. And I don't want to get too much
Right.
into that, because we could be here all day with
Yes,
that.
ma'am,
And
we
maybe
certainly
one day
can.
we will do that.
Yeah, well, we might because
it's,
it is important to be able to indifferent the two, but the message was entailed in a special message for those who were lost and then now found.
Right.
I'll put it that way for you.
Okay. And you're here talking about a very interesting program
Yes, ma'am.
that's going to happen on October the 3rd that I really want to attend, but I'm giving my daughter a baby shower on October the 3rd. So tell me about that program.
Well, we're here because we have a tour going throughout America,
Okay.
a reparations tour.
Okay.
And the reparations tour is very important at this time that we're bringing a information to our people that our people may not be fully aware of, or may not be fully inside of. So October the 3rd, the tour will stop in Philadelphia.
Okay, now you're going all around the country?
All around the country. We've
Okay.
initiated it in Washington. It will be in Atlanta in September, Baltimore, New York, Detroit, Chicago,
Okay,
North Carolina.
So when you say reparations, you're meaning that the United States government should give black people money or recognition or whatever. What exactly?
Well, when we say
trying to do?
reparations, we're really talking about the repairing of our lost identities and self. Yes, reparation does encompass compensation, but
Right.
we're not at that point yet.
Okay.
So we have to go through a process of repairing ourselves. That's a part of reparations too.
Okay.
The repairment of the damage that was done to a people.
And how do you think that we can do that? How
Well, we're starting the process now internationally, and my leader and teacher, the Honorable Salaam Muhammad, who is headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia,
Okay.
has been doing the work in the UN.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we've been working in the UN under the auspices of human rights.
Okay.
And through human rights, we have sought to reconnect ourselves back to our identity and what we call ethnogenesis.
And what exactly is that?
Ethnogenesis is a reconnection back to oneself through a new process.
Okay. And what process? You have to explain
And
this.
this process
very
is
interesting.
actually, it could be a process that we all see a need to do. In fact, one process is the naming of ourselves,
Okay.
giving ourselves an identity. When Salaam Muhammad went to the UN, he was told that there was no place for the Afro-American, so-called Afro-American in the UN. In other words, they had no placement of us because we were submerged in the culture of America, and we were really defined as Americans or whites
Okay.
in the international world. So they could not actually place us in order to begin to say, okay, let's deal with your remedy or issues. So first they had to find a place for us in the minority status.
Okay, and why couldn't they find a place for us?
Because we are established in the world scene, on the outside of the world, we're looked upon as white.
How so? I really
Because
don't understand that.
because of our names, our
Well, of
culture.
course, most people have the slave master's
Right.
name.
Our culture, the culture that we practice, everything that we practice is a image of the Caucasian slave master, actually, in the outside world eyes. So they don't
So
see
we
us.
were raised by them. So
Right.
we weren't raised by our African
Right.
ancestors.
Now our African ancestors don't see us as Africans either.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
'Cause I know
we're
a lot of my African brothers and sisters who I love
so we're
dearly.
caught between we'll be caught between not having an identity as Africans and not having identities as Caucasians. So we're actually a lost people without an identity, and this is how the UN looks at us. And when they began to categorize us, they said first we need to be able to categorize you before we can even address your issues.
So they couldn't just call us Americans or with the name
Not to address,
African
no,
Americans.
not to address our issues, because the UN deals with international terms, and their terms deal with minorities and certain classes of minorities. And we didn't fit in the various classes of minorities, so they first had to address that. And
Okay.
this is some of the information that the Honorable Salaam Muhammad found out when he went outside of America to the UN.
Okay.
A lot of people think that we go to the UN for reparations.
Right.
but we did not go to the UN per se just for reparations. We went to the UN for human rights, to be classified as other humans throughout other civilizations throughout other parts of the world. Because when you really look at us, our forefathers and foremothers were classified as like cattle.
Exactly. We were owned. Yeah, we were owned. Exactly.
So you were less than a human being.
Right.
And they viewed you in the outside world as such.
Okay.
So the first thing we had to do now is get reclassified, fight for our reclassification as human beings. And this is the work that Salima Muhammad has done tirelessly in the UN.
So have we been classified, or is that still a process?
We have taken a major step toward that classification and the renaming of ourselves. Now, what do I mean by that? The 19 various countries, 210 million people, our Latin brothers, our Cuban brothers and sisters, they have all came together and decided that we wanted to name ourselves to start the process of ethnogenesis going. And the name that they chose was Afro-descendants.
Okay, so it's not just going to be Africans. You also said
our Cuban brothers, our Latin brothers. This is more so those of us who have been touched in the slavery diaspora.
Now, didn't the Cubans and the Latin, didn't they already have a place in the United Nations?
Yeah, they have already been working.
Okay.
We're kind of lagging behind.
Okay.
But they've always been working in the UN. So we plan to kind of catch up.
So how do you think, are you going to have a meeting here? You already had meetings other places. What exactly do you want to do at these meetings? What do you want to do with
what we
these
want
meetings?
to do is make our people aware of the process of reparation and human rights, aware of what we're doing. We're also gathering names on a petition.
Okay.
We need at least 50,000, 100,000 names so that we can prove that there are some of us who want the UN to step in and intervene between us and America.
So as you go around on the tours, you'll be collecting signatures?
Yes, ma'am. We will be collecting signatures. That's part of the process. We also have the petition on our website, MuhammadSpeaks.com. You can also see the petition.
MuhammadSpeaks.com.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can go on the website and you can
will also see the petition. Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
and will you be able to
sign
sign online?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay.
So our goal is at least 50, 100,000, as many as we can get.
Okay.
Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did speak of separation.
Right.
That's point number 4 on the back of Muhammad Speaks. And we are in the process of gathering as many of our people as we can to separate from America.
Okay, so to separate from America.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not going. Okay.
You have that right.
I like it here.
You have
I like the way
that
I get
right.
treated here.
Yeah, but
you know,
you
honestly.
have that right.
So are you actually trying to get people to go back to Africa?
No.
Okay, so when you say separation,
right now,
how are we going
right
to separate?
now is we're separating, or we're gathering those who wish to separate, and we're right now moving towards certain islands.
Okay.
And we're asking these islands to take us in and grant us citizenship.
Really? I used to live in the Bahamas. I love the islands. I can visit you guys in the islands now. I can do that.
So that's a process that we're actually looking forward at.
Okay.
But we're doing that with the thought we're trying to get our people out of the way of as much imminent danger as possible. And we're talking prophetically now.
Okay, now see, that's the thing. Okay, so you're trying to find an island that we can relocate to.
Or various islands.
Okay.
It don't have to just be
or
one.
different islands that we can relocate to.
And also take our resources, and help those people in the process, because we have a lot of intellectuals, we have a lot of professionals, we have a lot of people who are able to do a lot of great things. So we have something to offer
Right.
when we come to people. We're not just coming saying just take us in. We have professionals, doctors, lawyers. We have construction artists, engineers.
Okay.
We have a lot of professional people who can offer some things to help our people in other islands.
Now, are these people already on board? Some of these people?
We have some of these people that are on board.
Okay.
We need many more.
Because when you say, because when I was telling some people that you were coming on talking about reparations, and people kind of frown towards that. You know, it's
Sure.
like, what do you mean?
It makes a lot of
Because
sense.
I think some people look at government handouts as part of reparations or
Well,
something,
we're not
which of
asking
course
for
is
a
not.
government handout.
Right.
What we're saying is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in the 60s, is that he's obligated from what our great grandparents have done, the free labor we have committed to them. He's obligated to help us on our way. We're not asking for a handout. We're
Right.
asking for him to do the right moral thing.
Well, of course,
You
and
know,
this country was founded and built on the back and the
Sure,
blood of
sure.
slaves.
Yeah, excellent.
So we do have a stake in this
Right.
land.
Sure.
So
and we're only saying if you choose to stay, you still should benefit from reparations,
Right.
whether you stay or leave.
right.
You don't have to leave. You can stay here, but you're still a person that should benefit from reparations. Those of us who would like to take our benefits and leave, that's all. We don't want to be here anymore. We don't want to go through the police brutality anymore.
Yeah, I was now that's a leeway. I was going to talk to you about that. And how do you feel about what's going on now? You know, I don't know, like some people say it was going on before, but because we have cameras, we can film it. Because before it
And
was
it's
going on
always been
and we
going
didn't
on.
see it.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you don't see it, the police can always say, no, it didn't happen that way. And of course, people are going to believe what they're saying.
Yes,
So now we do have cameras. So tell me a little bit, how do you feel about that?
Well, I want to be honest with you. I feel as though, as like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us, the only solution to the problem is to separate the two. If you keep the two engaging, you keep the law enforcement doing what they do, they're very unjust.
Yes.
And you're going to cause, and these problems are going to keep going. The Michael Browns, then my sister, they got killed in the prison system. That's going to
Sandra Bland.
it's
now-
going to
now-
keep going.
So now what do you say to people that say these people need to learn how to respect or speak to the police? Because, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do know if you have a hungry lion, you're not going to stick your hand into the lion's mouth. So if you have these policemen coming to you already angry, already hate you, and they ask you to do something like with Sandra Bland, put your cigarette out, and she argued with them. The simple thing that you have to do is do what they tell you to do right then.
Yes.
And if you see them doing something wrong, you fight that later. But when you're right here, it's just you and them, you have to really kind of watch what you say and how you say it, because they're already steamed up stopping you and they don't know what's going to happen. So when they get any kind of conflict from the person, they get riled up even more.
ma'am.
So what do you think about
Well,
that?
We're taught as Muslims to respect those who are in authority as
Right.
long as it does not conflict with your beliefs.
Exactly.
So there are certain measures that you should take
Right.
in respecting authority,
I agree.
especially in isolated
Exactly.
situations.
I agree. Exactly.
And then when you're in those situations, you must be mindful that you are in a situation that might be detrimental
Exactly.
to you.
Exactly.
So we're taught respect,
right.
and we do respect law.
Right.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to respect the laws as long as they does not conflict with our
With
beliefs.
Islam, exactly.
So I that's how I feel about it. If you are driving and you're pulled over, sister, you should be intelligent enough to adhere
Exactly.
to the rules.
Exactly.
Until you can get into an environment of protection.
And the thing is, you know, when we were raised, we were taught to respect authority. We were taught to respect our parents. We were taught to respect older people, period.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you have someone in law enforcement, there is a certain amount of respect. Now, I do understand some people, black men, getting pulled over constantly. I know a few brothers that have been pulled over 5, 6, some 10 times.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
get tired of that and understand that, and sometimes they want to explode. Why are you stopping me again, yet again?
Right.
You know, so I can understand their frustration. But the thing is, we really have to know that we're not going to win. We're not going to win.
Well,
you know, we can win in the court of law. If we see them do something wrong and we can prove it, we can win in the court of law. Because something that I found out that was interesting when I see some of these tapes, the police, one guy, he was stopped, he had his hands out the window, and the police officer came into his car and said, "Get your hand off my gun."
Right.
He didn't clearly have his hand on the police officer's gun because both hands were outside of the window. Right. So the police officers do, and I do love the police because my father was a police officer, okay, but the police do tend to make things up to their own favor. But I do want to ask you this, and a lot of people say this is a different, but I want to get your view on it. You're saying for us to leave this Americas and have our own island. Is that going to stop the black on black crime?
Well, again, we're taught to respect oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Those who adhere to Islam, we're not killing each other.
Right.
We're not beating and killing each other because we're moving in a higher civilization.
So, but all the people on this island are not going to be Muslim.
Not necessarily, but all the people that decide to leave will eventually adhere to what is right morally.
Okay.
And that's what we want to advocate.
But you are going to have other religions
Muslim. Yes,
and
yes,
okay.
ma'am.
How about somebody that doesn't believe in God? How like somebody that's an atheist but they're black? Would they be welcome to your island?
They have the right to reparations.
Okay.
I mean, if they feel as though that they want reparations and they want to leave America, then we have a mechanism for which they may be able to gain that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a mechanism, and this is what Salaam Muhammad has been doing for the last 17 to 19 years in the UN.
Really?
Yes. We've been fighting very, very hard to gain human recognition, human rights for ourselves. We have collectively came together with 19 other countries, and now we are 250 million strong under the name Afro-Descendant. And, you know, you got Google,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you got social media today. Look these things up.
Okay.
Look up Salaam Muhammad, look up human rights, look up reparations, look up Afro-Descendant.
Afro-Descendant. And
Afro-Descendant.
that's gonna replace being called African American.
It has already replaced it in the international forum as a global identity.
Okay.
Global.
Okay.
It does not say that you have to carry that in your particular country. If you want to be an Afro-American in your particular country, you want to be a Latino-American, you want to be a Cuban-American, that's fine with us.
Okay.
We're talking about a global identity dealing with a global crisis.
Wow. Okay, brother. Now give me the website again that people
We
can
have
go.
the website that you can go to is MuhammadSpeaks.com.
Okay.
And there you can, the petition, you can sign the petition there. You can get added information about Salaam Muhammad, the Afro-Descendant Nation, also about when we will be coming to your city.
Okay, and they're going to be here October the 3rd. Again, I'm going to try to sneak away from the shower and be there because I really would.
We really want to see you there.
Thank you so much
and we appreciate you.
I appreciate you,
inviting us
brother.
here.
Thank you so
All
much.
right.
And thank you for tuning into this very interesting session of Salima Speaks. And remember, love yourself, love others, and don't forget to stress.